story begins with a chilling glimpse into a murder that hasn't yet happened. In a vivid vision recorded by Precrime, a futuristic law enforcement agency that stops crimes before they occur, Howard Marks is about to kill his wife, Sarah, after seeing her get clapped by some dude. This vision comes from three psychics known as the Precogs: Agatha, Arthur, and Dashiell, who float in a fluid-filled chamber.
Look, John.
Any contraction?
Only the ones you get.
Their minds connected to detect future acts of violence. Agatha, the most gifted among them, often sees details the others miss, making her visions especially crucial. As the prediction is processed, two wooden balls roll out of a chute, one brown ball with Howard Marks, the would-be killer, and another with Sarah Marks, the intended victim. In this system, brown signifies premeditated murder, and red indicates a crime of passion. Since the ball that names Howard as the killer is brown, it means he's had time to think it through. This wasn't a spontaneous act. Chief John Anderton, the head of Precrime, jumps into action. He begins analyzing the fragmented images pulled from the Precog's vision to figure out where the crime will take place. His team reconstructs the scene, an ordinary suburban neighborhood, but they run into a problem. The GPS coordinates keep shifting, and the fragments don't match up cleanly with the physical location. Meanwhile, Danny Whitwer, a government agent sent to evaluate Precrime before it's launched nationwide, arrives at the facility. To avoid distractions, John assigns Officer Fletcher to give him a tour, while the team deals with the urgent case. Back in the operations room, Officer Jad reinterprets Agatha's fragmented vision and updates the system's overlays, helping them pinpoint the house just in time. John leads the arrest team straight to the location. They burst in as Howard is about to attack Sarah with a pair of scissors and stop him before he strikes. The arrest is clean and swift, another flawless win for Precrime. Meanwhile, Whitwer watches the Precogs react to the murder like it's still happening. Still, Jad explains to him that what he's seeing is an echo.
Well, that's just an echo, precog deja vu, if you will.
A precog deja vu, and then instructs Wally to erase the memory of the precogs. Since the murder has been stopped, it's later reported that the murder rate in Colombia has dropped to 905, thanks to the precogs. Later that evening, John meets with Lycan, an eyeless man who has been supplying him with a drug. Apparently, John has been using it to cope ever since the disappearance of his son, Sean. Back at his highly automated home, he plays an old hologram recording labeled Sean at the Beach, a memory frozen in time. Then he plays another one of his estranged wife, Lara. Lost in grief and nostalgia, he takes the drug he got from Lycan. The next day at work, Lamar warns John to be cautious of Whitwer, suspecting that he might disrupt their efforts to reform the country's approach to crime prevention. He advises John to cooperate with Whitwer, but remain vigilant. Meanwhile, Fletcher and Jad explain how the wooden balls produced by the precogs,
Well, let's not kid ourselves. We are arresting individuals who have broken no law.
are unique and impossible to forge. Whitwer, however, remains skeptical of the system, questioning the morality of arresting individuals for crimes that haven't yet occurred. He sees it as a paradox. Soon after, John enters and challenges Whitwer's skepticism. To illustrate his point, he rolls a wooden ball along a spiral track, prompting Whitwer to catch it before it falls. John then asks why he stopped the ball. Whitwer says it's because it was going to fall. John uses this to argue that just because a crime hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't. The ball would have fallen, just like the crime would have occurred if no one had intervened. To further clarify his point and address Whitwer's doubts, John explains that the precogs don't see what people intend to do. They see what they will do. Still unconvinced, Whitwer questions why the precogs only detect murders and not other serious crimes like assault, rape, or suicide. Fletcher responds by explaining that it's due to the unique nature of murder.
Again, John Anderton approved.
He believes there is nothing more destructive to the metaphysical fabric of society than the untimely killing of one human being by another, as if the universe just really hates murder, but totally vibes with arson. However, Whitwer doubts that the creator of Precog, Iris Heinemann, shares that belief. Whitwer requests access to the room known as the Temple, where the precogs are kept. Initially, John refuses, explaining that no cop is allowed to enter the temple in order to prevent tampering with the information. However, Whitwer reminds him that he is operating under the authority of the Attorney General of the United States, leaving John with no choice but to grant him access. Upon entering the temple, Whitwer asks Wally how the precogs function.
Orphans, plus we maintain careful control over the serotonin levels.
Wally explains that the photon milk in which the precogs are immersed serves both as a nutrient source and a conductive medium, enhancing the clarity of the images they receive. He adds that the visions are captured through optical tomography, which allows others to see exactly what the precogs see. Whitwer touches a nerve by bringing up the disappearance of John's son. This deeply annoys John, prompting him to ask what exactly Whitwer is looking for. Whitwer, calm and composed, replies that he's searching for flaws. While the system appears flawless, he believes that if any weakness exists, it would be a human flaw, not one in the system itself. Just after everyone exits the temple, the most gifted of the precogs, Agatha, suddenly reaches out and grabs John, asking, "Can you see?" At that moment, an image of a woman flashes on the nearby screen. Wally rushes in, clearly alarmed. He's shocked that Agatha has initiated contact, remarking that the precogs aren't supposed to recognize or interact with anyone. Later, John visits Gideon at the Precrime containment facility, hoping to access Agatha's data stream to investigate a murder that occurred years ago. As he sifts through the overwhelming archive of visions, only one relevant case stands out: the drowning of a woman named Anne Lively, with the killer listed as John Doe, an unidentified suspect. Strangely, much of Agatha's original pre-visions, including this one, appear to be missing or altered in the official system. Troubled by the inconsistencies, John discreetly records the footage of Anne Lively's murder using his optical chip and decides to take it to his superior, Director Lamar Burgess, hoping for answers. When John shows the recording to Lamar, the director doesn't offer a clear explanation. Instead, he shifts the conversation, expressing concern about the possibility of the Precrime program
I go running down there.
In the middle of the night.
being taken over by the federal government. He also appears uneasy about Danny Whitwer's ongoing investigation, and emotionally admits that if Precrime had existed 6 months earlier, he might not have lost his son. Despite the tension, John reassures him that no one will take Precrime away. Meanwhile, Whitwer secretly enters John's apartment, determined to uncover flaws in the system, and possibly in John himself. The next day, the precogs release a red wooden ball, signaling a spontaneous, passion-driven murder. The name of the next victim on the ball is Leo Crow. Acting swiftly, John begins pulling up the case details, location, timeline, and the predicted sequence of events. But as he digs deeper, he's stunned to see his image appear on the screen as the perpetrator. Confused and alarmed, John double-checks the system, convinced something must be wrong. Since he doesn't know anyone named Crow, let alone have a reason to kill him, but his worst fears are confirmed when the second wooden ball rolls out with his name etched on it, John Anderton. Before Wally can alert the system, he lets John leave the temple out of kindness. On his way out, John bumps into Whitwer, who confronts him with a drug he found in John's home, evidence that could cost John his license for 6 months. Alarmed, John contacts Lamar and tells him he suspects he's being framed, possibly by Whitwer. He asks if it's possible to fake a precog vision, but Lamar avoids the question and simply urges John to come to him for protection while they figure things out. Shortly after, John realizes he's been located and is now a fugitive. Lamar tries to calm him down, but John says everybody runs. Thereafter, Lamar urges Fletcher to take charge of the operation to bring John back alive. Whitwer initially tries to lead the manhunt,
He came to see you the other day right before he was tagged. What did you talk about?
but Lamar insists that, as second in command of the pre-crime team, Fletcher should take the lead. Growing suspicious, Whitwer confronts Lamar, asking what he and John discussed just before John was tagged as a future murderer. Lamar dismisses the question, saying it's none of Whitwer's business. Whitwer reminds him that investigating an officer involved in a capital crime falls under federal jurisdiction, and that John remains the primary suspect, especially after the discovery that he has been using an illegal drug. Whitwer threatens to escalate the issue to the Attorney General, but Lamar stops him, insisting that John must not be harmed, emphasizing that he's still a subordinate under his watch. A few moments later, John is spotted aboard a metro train and quickly flagged by the pre-crime system. The alert goes out, and Fletcher leads a team to intercept him. As they confront him, Fletcher tries to reason with John, warning that no matter how fast or far he runs, he can't outrun the reach of pre-crime. Calm but defiant, John understands the stakes if he surrenders. With a determined look, he simply says that everybody runs, and with that, he bolts, kicking off a fast-paced pursuit through the crowded station. Hot on his heels, the pre-crime team gives chase like mall cops, with something to prove. John bursts into an automated car assembly factory. The place is alive with robotic arms, welding, and moving vehicle parts. Inside the chaos, John and Witwer clash in a brief but intense fight, dodging machinery and narrowly avoiding being crushed by the heavy equipment. Using the confusion and timing of the assembly line to his advantage, John escapes, leaving Witwer behind. After narrowly escaping from the pre-crime team, John heads to a remote, overgrown greenhouse belonging to Dr. Iris Heineman, the original mind behind the pre-crime concept.
You're trespassing. I don't have visitors.
As he cautiously makes his way through the lush vegetation, he's suddenly attacked by a genetically modified vine and wonders why he's getting choked by salad. He struggles for air, clawing at the plant, but it only tightens. Just as he's about to lose consciousness, Hinman gives him an antidote, watching him carefully the entire time, as if testing his desperation and resolve. Once he recovers, John demands answers. Hinman, sharp and unbothered by the situation, admits that pre-crime is not as flawless as everyone believes. She explains that while the three precogs usually produce identical visions of the future, there are rare cases when a goth sees something different. These alternative visions are called minority reports. However, the system was designed to suppress those reports in favor of unity and certainty. In other words, if Agatha ever saw a future where the accused doesn't commit the crime, the system would ignore it to preserve the illusion of 100% accuracy. This means some people could be arrested for crimes they would never have actually committed,
Because these minority reports are destroyed the instant they occur.
Why?
Realizing this might be his only shot at proving his innocence, John asks how he can access Agatha's version of the murder, the one vision that might contradict the official narrative. Heineman tells him bluntly, the only way to see it is to break into pre-crime headquarters and extract Agatha herself. It's a near-suicidal move. She warns him that pre-crime's retinal scanners can detect him from 10 miles out. There's no getting close without being instantly flagged. But Heineman, ever shrewd, he hints that, as a former cop, John should be resourceful enough to know someone who can help him bypass the system. If he has brains, he'll figure out how to get past the eyes, watching every corner of the city. Thereafter, as the investigation intensifies, Witwer instructs the team to focus on the sprawl area. He orders a coordinated flyover with ships and deploys 2 spider teams on the ground. The goal is to run a full thermal scan of the environment,
Now, the adjacent building suggests public housing, but I can't make out the location.
identifying anything with eyes and a heartbeat. During the sweep, Witwer finds a chip labeled Lara, John's wife, and immediately asks the team where he can locate her, sensing that she may be the key to finding John. Later, John visits Dr. Solomon Eddy, an underground surgeon, to undergo an illegal eye transplant so he can avoid detection by pre-crime's retinal scanners. During the procedure, Eddy warns him not to remove the bandages for 12 hours, or he risks never seeing his sausage again. Despite the danger and discomfort, John insists on keeping his old eyes, storing them in a small plastic bag for later use, a decision that later proves crucial.
Så lilla älskling, nu är doktorn klar med dig. Du är till Gretas tur.
Meanwhile, Witwer visits Lara to ask questions and find possible leads about John. He brings up John's drug use, and Lara responds firmly, stating that he has been using ever since they lost their son. When Witwer subtly suggests that John may be to blame, Lara pushes back, saying that what happened to Sean isn't anyone's fault. Witwer tries to go deeper, mentioning that Lamar believes she left John because he lost himself in pre-crime instead of staying present with her. But Lara, growing emotional, tells him she left because she kept seeing Sean's face in John's. The conversation hits a sensitive point, and she ends it by asking Witwer to leave. After the surgery, Dr. Solomon strictly warns John not to remove the bandages covering his eyes or scratch them, as doing so before the 12-hour mark could result in permanent blindness. He then administers a temporary paralytic device that will distort John's facial features, just enough to prevent recognition, for about 30 minutes. Before leaving, Dr. Solomon places an alarm clock next to him to help track the recovery time and quietly exits the room. While resting to pass the time, John jolts awake from a haunting nightmare about the day he lost his son, Sean. Moments later, pre-crime agents arrive in North Powell to conduct a thermal scan of every residence. At John's hideout, Ivana detects 27 warm bodies, prompting Fletcher to deploy 8 spider scanners per floor for a thorough sweep. Realizing what's happening, John submerges himself in an ice bath to mask his body heat. But after a few minutes, he struggles to hold his breath and exhales, alerting the spider scanners. It scans his eye, but since the transplant has healed, it doesn't identify him as John. During the investigation, Whitwer notices something strange in the pre-crime vision. There are 4 people at the predicted crime scene, instead of the usual 3. Looking closely, he realizes the 4th figure is Agatha. Putting the pieces together, he concludes that John is planning to take her. Meanwhile, John has already infiltrated the temple by using the temporary paralytic enzyme
Each precog has their own bedroom, television, and weight room.
to disguise his face and his old eyeball to gain access through the security scan. Before pre-crime can catch them, John escapes the temple with Agatha by swimming through a drainage pipe connected to the tank. With Agatha gone, the remaining precogs are rendered useless, as they can't function without her. In the vision, Agatha was present in the room when John was supposed to kill Crow, meaning they now have only 51 minutes and 30 seconds left to prevent the murder from happening. John visits Rufus Riley to extract and record visions from Agatha's mind. Rufus agrees initially, joking about keeping anything he finds, but quickly complies when John insists. As they review the visions, including those John already knows, the download halts at the scene of Crow's predicted murder. John asks Agatha if he has a minority report, but she says no.
Where's my minority report?
Suddenly, a vision of Anne Lively's murder appears, playing in reverse. John suspects Agatha is revealing the identity of Anne's real killer, but just as the killer's face is about to become visible, Agatha stops the vision. Pre-crime is closing in, and they must flee. Guided by Agatha's visions, John and Agatha make their escape. She instructs him to pick up an umbrella, and later urges him to pause briefly, knowing what's about to happen. As they wait, a balloon vendor passes by and unknowingly shields them from the pre-crime team's view. Outside, the umbrella becomes useful again. Rain begins to fall, and John uses it to blend into a crowd of people, also carrying umbrellas, making it harder for the team to spot them. John and Agatha arrive at the room where Crow's murder is meant to happen. Agatha urges John to walk away, reminding him he still has a choice, but he refuses, determined to face the truth. Inside, John finds a photo of his missing son, Sean, and confronts Crow. Crow claims he drowned Sean, which enrages John, but Agatha pleads with him not to kill. When the predicted time of the murder arrives, John drops his gun. Crow then confesses he was hired to provoke John into killing him because his retirement plan was death by cop with benefits. Realizing John won't go through with it, Crow forces the gun into his own hands and pulls the trigger, revealing the entire setup was meant to frame John. This marks the only failure of pre-crime, as the murder occurred exactly as predicted by the precogs. Whitwer contacts Lamar, informing him they may have been chasing the wrong man. They meet at John's home, where Whitwer hands Lamar the murder weapon and shares his findings. Based on his investigation and Jod's input, he discovered that sometimes the precogs see the same murder twice, while Lamar calls this an echo. Whitwer raises the possibility that what was thought to be an echo
No hovercraft out the window and no clickety-click of little spiders. Do you know why I can't hear any of those things, Danny?
was actually a separate murder. He explains that if someone hired a second killer with nothing to lose to mimic the original crime, the technician could mistakenly delete one vision, thinking it was a duplicate, allowing the real murder to go unnoticed. Lamar realizes that Whitwer is already exploring a loophole, and that his secret is about to be revealed by the smart guy, so he unalives him. While John is at Lara's place with Agatha, they start digging deeper into the mystery, using Agatha's fragmented visions. This leads them to eventually uncover that Anne Lively, a former drug addict who got clean and wanted her daughter back, was Agatha's mother. Meanwhile, Lara had called Lamar and innocently informed him that John was at her place with the precog. In no time, the pre-crime team arrives and arrests John. John is sent to the containment facility.
A mandate of the District of Columbia Pre-Crime Division, Leo Crow and Danny Whitworth.
And Agatha is returned to the temple. Lara grows suspicious and subtly questions Lamar about Anne Lively. In the process, he slips up by mentioning that Anne was drowned, a crucial detail that hadn't been made public. This clue confirms her suspicions. During the public celebration of Precrime's success, a precog vision is broadcast, revealing the true sequence of Anne's murder. It becomes clear that Lamar orchestrated the entire cover-up. He had a second person attempt to kill Anne, so the system would flag it, then personally carried out the real murder, disguising it as an echo to erase it from the records. After the truth is revealed during the broadcast, chaos unfolds. The precog footage clearly exposes Lamar Burgess as Anne Lively's real murderer, shattering the integrity of the pre-crime system. Lamar realizes his secret is out and tries to maintain control, but John confronts him with the evidence.
You used the memory of my dead son to set me up!
Cornered, and with his legacy collapsing, Lamar is given a choice to unalive John, as the precogs predicted, or prove the system flawed by sparing him. Ultimately, Lamar chooses to bite the dust rather than face arrest, confirming that the future is not fixed and that free will exists. This moment marks the end of the pre-crime division, as it becomes clear that the system is flawed. The precogs, Agatha, and the others are transferred to an undisclosed location. The end. Thank you for sticking to the end of my video. Please do me the biggest favor by leaving a like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video.